Hi, this is Angie here from Canterbury Trails Farm, and today we're talking about comfrey. I wanted to show you my comfrey plant is dying out because it is the end of October. Generally we don't have a freeze until Thanksgiving, but this year is really crazy, and so my comfrey is starting to die back down. I picked a really nice specimen here. I have some dried inside. I'm all done harvesting and drying for the year, but some of this I'll cut back and I will put in my garden bed because it's an excellent composter to add to compost piles and to your garden. So I just wanted to come out here and pick a big leaf and let you see it growing in the ground before we get inside and talk about it, the dried comfrey, and how we use it for topical uses. At one point we did use it as, not us personally, but people, human beings, used it internally, and some people still do in teas and in various other kind of infusions. We don't, personally, our family does not use it because pretty extensive medical studies have been done on comfrey, and long-term use can cause liver damage, and although that's quite rare because you would have to probably be ingesting a lot of it in order to have liver damage, we just don't do that. We stick to using comfrey. There's lots of other herbs that we can use for internal situations, so we use comfrey as topical salves because it is a great cellular regenerator. It's awesome for healing topical wounds. It also is a good plant for foraging for your livestock, but some livestock are sensitive to that, and it's probably not a good idea to let them eat it in great quantities, but for a snack every once in a while it's pretty good. But for humans, let's just stick to topical solutions when we address the herb comfrey. So let's go inside and see what comfrey looks like dried and talk about the salve. We're back in the kitchen and we're going to look at comfrey in its dried state. I brought in the beautiful example of the fresh leaf, and these can get quite big. I've had some that were, just like elephant ears, and it has a little bit of a fuzzy, prickly sensation to it, and I like to describe it as sort of like a cat tongue. Like it has its own little combs on there. Sometimes they actually can be sharp, especially on the under stem here, this understalk. I don't know if you can see, but there's little hairs on there, and some of those can be quite sharp, especially when it's a big fresh one. So I brought that in to look at it. I take them, I cut them close to the bottom, close to the soil. I leave about 1 inch. I don't over harvest. I always leave some. I bring them in, I put them in about 4, 5 to 6 leaves together, and I rubber band them together, and I just hang them and let them dry. And they get quite crispy and they turn very papery, and then I just put all the dried ones in a bowl and I just cut them up into this fine leaves here. Comfrey actually is considered to be a shrub. I don't know if I would consider it a shrub, but that's what it's considered the way it's grown out of the ground. It used to be called in the old days Knitbone, and the reason why it got its name Knitbone is because it was used to treat broken bones, wounds, cuts, scrapes, abrasions, bruises, joint problems as a topical solution. In the old days, quote unquote old days, people drank it as a tea, but like we talked about outside, that's no longer considered safe. It's great for a topical salve solution, and I do have one that I will link to. I have more salves that I'll be getting up. I have a pain salve that took me a few years to work out that I swear by, and I use almost on a daily, nightly basis on my lower back. But we'll be making that later too. But for right now, we're just talking about the properties of comfrey. It's an anti-inflammatory, so it helps reduce swelling of joints, and it has a great cellular reconstruction property of that is great for like a super healing of cuts and scratches and anything in the skin, dried skin, any kind of skin ailment. I would say that I do have one salve up already, but I have another salve recipe that I will be putting up that I use for everything. I sort of call it like the Neosporin of the comfrey world, sort of, because it helps you heal so quickly. If you have any sign of infection whatsoever in your wound, or you're not sure if it's puffy or red, do not use a comfrey-based salve yet until it is healed, because it can cause the skin to heal so rapidly and close so rapidly that your wound might not have drained, or the infection in your wound may not have had a chance to escape before the top layer of the skin closes. So it's not recommended to use any comfrey product on a deep wound. You want to make sure before you start using a Comfrey salve or oil that it has healed primarily up until the top layers of the epidermis or the skin before you start applying Comfrey salves to that. You really want to make sure there's no risk of pus or any kind of infection forming in that wound. For that reason, I don't use Comfrey salves for any deep wounds, just for topical scrapes, small cuts, abrasions, bruises, dry skin, any kind of condition of the itching of the skin. It's really a good thing to use. And usually most of my salves have an olive oil base too, so it's very good for the skin. So that's just a little bit of history behind Comfrey and what it's good for. And I will definitely link to any kind of salves that I have up already that contain Comfrey. And be checking back on my herbal playlist, because as I start doing my winter salves and ointments and stuff like that, I'll be putting up new videos. So thank you. This has been Angie from Canterbury Trails Farm. Bye.